Right. Hello, fellow golfers. Well, I've come to amend a couple of my recommendations in the last two videos. The first of which I've made somewhat simpler. Now, I suggested in a previous video that to sharpen up your putting, I have a little. I have, well, my floor is a mess right now. I've been kind of sick. I haven't been doing too much putting, but I do have a rug here. It's about 5 foot, 5 feet long. And what I do is, heretofore, for the longest time, I set like two shoes or something around a Dunkin' Donuts cup that would fit four balls, right? The only thing about that is it fills up after four. If you're on a streak, you're always going back and forth. What's better to do is I have a whole bunch of balls. All the balls that I can't put all the balls I find. I found like 700 last year, right? And I got about 900 balls somewhere in this house. There's one big basket in my living room, and we have a smaller basket there, but I have a lot. So I can put as many balls as I want in a row. And when you put into the cup, you're constantly going back and forth, especially if you're hot. So what you'd rather do is take two bottles like these two. We know that the pin is two balls wide. The hole is two balls wide plus the pin. So what you simply do is you set two balls in between the two bottles. And if you want to, you can like stick a pin between the two balls to represent the pin. Uh, this pin. This is actually, this is smaller than the pin. So maybe this pin, right? You put that between, then you remove the two balls, and you putt to the space between the two bottles. So what you have is, if you start running them in, which you should, they're only 5 feet. This is that you try to get them to drip in. And if you don't drip them, right, you'll know how far past you went because it's going to go in the open space. That way, if you're on a streak, you can use 20 or 30 balls. You can just click and click and click. I think I've got as many as 16 in in a row. Um, but then I got kind of tired, and but the thing about it is, if you take putting like a putting drill, just the way you do at a driving range, your putting's going to get better because you know what the 5 foot range is. I read in a study many years ago that the range in which putters uh, players can make putts is like 6 feet. So if you come a little bit short of it, it's going to increase your confidence because you know what your 5 foot energy is relative to the green. And one of my other tips was that um, green speed is that's one I found from last time. Green speed is key. And if you have a putting green, it's not necessarily going to be indicative of the rest of the greens on your course, but you do want to use it to know what the deal is. My putting green is small, but it is a little challenging. It's not flat. It's like the rest of my pitch and putt course. It's not a long course. The greens are easy. There's a lot of flat spots. The first hole is pretty first hole is pretty big. It's long. The fairway is long relative to the course, and the green is wide compared to the rest of the courses, the rest of the holes. So that's the second thing. And the third one comes from a guy who has a golf channel. It's a psychiatrist who's adding his little psychological view to help your game. He's giving regular golf tips, but he's a psychologist, so you get that. And someone told him to break your card up into not just nine two separate rounds of back and in and out, but break those up into thirds. So I'm gonna share today's card. I had a horrible. This is a par three course, right? I play pitch and putt. I'm not hadn't hit a lot of greens in regulation. Still trying to get my swing together and the velocity. I'm gonna change some of the court. Uh, the I use four clubs, four wedges, and my putter. And I used to use the 60 a lot, but now I think I'm gonna try on the 50 holes not to use the 60, use the 56 and swing it easier. And that may just get me tuned up to put more strength into the 60 somewhere down the line. But now I want to get the ball up because a lot of times I'm topping it and I want to get used to seeing the ball fly. Go up and make the pin. And just um not so much have to fine tune the club to the distance, find the right club for the distance, but find the velocity for the club. Okay. So to exemplify, today I got a 7 on the first. It was a little disaster. The second hole I got a 4, and the third hole I four putted. And that's the other thing I do with my score. I have 3 lines. You have a 4-line card, 4 players. I put my total score on top. A number of times I use a wedge in the second row. And on the third row, we have the number of times I used my putter. So you see on the bottom that's 17, and instead of dividing it up in thirds, like 17 for the first 3 and 14 for the second 3 and 11 for the third 3 on the front, and then 13, 12, and 12. I had to show like I did a little better on under that. Generally, that's the thing. It takes me a while to warm up on the swing, and then once I get it, you're hitting greens and your putting comes up because you've been putting to save your life. But the thing here, you get a running type of average. That's what I call it the rolling threes instead of the 3 and 3. After you get the first hole, all right, it's sort of like your handicap, right? In your handicap, you take 8 out of the last lowest 8 out of your last 20. Here, you take last 3 holes and you have a total after it. So it went and it gives you an incentive. Well, it's not so much on this card. It's balanced. You know what the par is in every hole. But as you go through a regular golf card, it gives you a goal to lower that number each time. Keep it that number or lower. I know it's different from each hole, but most courses are threes and fours or a bunch, a couple threes. The threes balance the fives and the fours go out. Because if each hole was par four, you'd have 72 one way or the other, right? So three balances the fives and the rest the fours. So you're going to have a range that's going to be, you know, 12, 13, right? Generally, 12 or 13. So you get to judge from there how far you're doing, how well you're doing. So, like here, It went from 17, 15. I can't make this too long. 15, 14, 12, 12, 11. And then we got to the back. It's just a continuation. 13, 13, 13, 12, 11, 12, 11, 12, 12, for a total of 37 on the back. So once you see those lowering, you can it gives you a little incentive. Like I started around with 13, got down to 12, 11, 12, and then we were alternating between 11 and 12, and then you can see that that's generally what your game is between 11 and 12 because I only had 3 pars today. No, I haven't had a bird in a while, but I'm only playing once a week. I used to play 3 times a week, but the weather is just not cooperating. I don't go out unless it's the warmer it's supposed to be. The warmer I needed to be to go out. I don't need to play in 60s and cloudy, low 60s and cloudy during the spring. All right, I gotta wrap this up because I make it too long. I can't get it on this channel. I have to put it someplace else. All right, hope that helps. Check it out, especially the scoring. Scoring is gonna help you. Gonna help your mindset. Take care and play more golf, as Jimmy Tropicana said.